All right, so we're on air, Ren.
Awesome.
The first question I have for you, I actually added a couple more questions, and if you don't feel comfortable answering them, you don't have to.
No problem. I'll answer anything and everything.
Okay, well, I won't hold you to it if that's not the case. So my first question is, how did you start out doing SEO? Because that's something I don't know about you.
Yeah, sure. So I started actually in web design and development back in the late 90s. I was doing that a little bit through high school and then into college. I dropped out of college in 2001 to start working with my mom, Jillian, who had a small business marketing consultancy. She was sort of an independent solo entrepreneur and worked with a bunch of businesses in the Seattle area to make like logos and letterheads, business cards, all that kind of stuff. And so her clients started needing websites as well, and that's what I was building. A couple years into that, some of them needed SEO as well. We initially outsourced that. We subcontracted it to a few folks here in Seattle, and then we ended up not being able to afford the subcontracting anymore, and so I had to do it myself.
Hmm.
And that's when I began, trawling the SEO forums at the time, contributing, participating. You can go back to like 2003, 2004, and just find every single SEO forum is filled with Rand fish asking weird questions. And then I started up SEO Moz, the blog, as a place to kind of share my own ideas and what I was learning and be able to point to bigger pieces of content.
In all those forums, were there links going back to all your sites too?
Yeah, I wish. I think I actually might have tried that a few times.
Yeah.
Where I try like comment spamming. Even back then, I realized I really didn't like it. It wasn't for me, and I was not good at it.
Right. Right on. Okay, so then there goes the question of Moz. How did that get started? Why did you decide to start Moz, and how did you grow it?
Yeah, I mean, initially it was just the blog, and then as the blog became more prominent, that overtook the rest of our business as the way we were earning clients, and so we sort of shut down the old consulting business and started operating solely under Moz, called SEO Moz at the time, right? It was seomoz.org. And then in 2007, we had built a few tools just for ourselves to use for our clients, and we decided we wanted to make those public. I'm a big transparency guy, so I hate having stuff that's like, oh, I have a secret sauce that you don't know about. Right. So we wanted to make all these tools public, but we couldn't handle the volume of free users, and so we figured, hey, we'll just put up a little PayPal paywall. You'll have to subscribe. You pay us like $29, maybe it's $39 a month, and then it turns out we just announced that once on the blog. Didn't really talk about it a whole lot. I was actually going through the old blog posts yesterday over the weekend because I'm writing a book now kind of about this experience, and we didn't promote it much at all, and it turned out hundreds of people were just signing up for these tools, and that ended up becoming almost half our revenue stream by the middle of the year.
Wow.
And at that point we said, wait a minute, we think we're onto something here. Like let's get serious about this software business. And I think that's really when Moz started to transition into a software as a service type of company.
Nice. And so for how there's an echo right now. Testing. Yeah, there's some weird echo. I don't know if it's
I don't hear it on my end.
Hello? Yeah. I wonder if it's one of the people that's in the chat.
Oh.
Nope. I think it might be the. Are you using a speaker? You're probably using speakers, huh?
Yeah. Hang on just a sec.
Okay. Testing. Well, now you're muted.
Did you hear it when I was muted?
I didn't hear you. Okay, it's gone now. It's good now.
All right. Let's.
All right. Next question. So this is a question that I've been wondering for a while, and I think I've been asking you a lot of questions on your Whiteboard Fridays, or not asking you in particular, but just discussing with other people. But like one of the big things for me is staying on top of your SEO game, and like I guess my first question, it's gonna be like a three-part question, but my first question is like, how do you stay on top of your game? And then the other two parts would probably be like, How much time do you spend learning, and how much time do you spend implementing, to continue the learning?
Yeah. So for me, I'm in a very lucky position. I think early on, I had to spend a tremendous amount of time learning SEO and getting up to speed. But then once you sort of achieve prominence in the SEO blogging world, the nice thing is that I probably have 10 emails every day that are not just asking me questions, but furthering my knowledge, right? They're sharing, hey, I discovered this. Hey, Rand,
Right.
we saw this weird thing with this website. I just got an email. Actually, it was a Google Plus notification last week from a research team in Germany that had done a bunch of amazing research into pagination styles and formats, stuff that I've never dug into internal linking pagination and how that affects indexation on very large enterprise-sized sites. But they had done this phenomenal piece. When I found it, I actually asked if I could share it around because I thought it was so good. But it's stuff like that, right? I sort of get kept up to speed automatically just by reading, my feeds and my email and helping folks out. I probably am helping, 5 to 10 folks every day, either through Moz Q&A or through my personal email. And I think teaching is a phenomenal way to learn, right? If you're trying to help someone else accomplish something, I'm helping a startup here in Seattle or a nonprofit, or I'm helping a friend of mine. Sometimes if Geraldine, my wife, lets me, I even help her with her travel blog.
Nice.
And all of those things are points where I'm teaching, I'm helping with the implementation, but I'm also learning at the same time.
Okay.
As far as time goes, boy, I would say maybe a good quarter of my day on average is spent, teaching, learning, implementing, reading, amplifying, like some combination of those things. It's usually 30 to 45 minutes in the morning before I walk to work, and sometimes another 5 or 10 minutes here in between meetings at work, and then most of it is really between like 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. When I have like that quiet downtime.
So, like you were saying earlier, you're kind of in the ideal position. What would you maybe recommend to somebody who's like, working a 40-hour work week, who's the average SEO? How much time should they be spending or teaching?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think is a terrific idea is to find something else that you're passionate about, outside of the pure SEO world, and start your own website on it. You don't need it to make money, although you can if you want. You're just trying to learn and implement and test things out and have some fun and play around. I think most of the best SEOs that we all know out there are folks who do a lot of testing, who run their own websites, sometimes several of them. I remember Cyrus Shepard, right, who was the head of SEO at Moz for a long time. He had a bunch of sites on the side, and in fact, he decided to leave Moz so that he and his wife could work full time on that portfolio of websites that he kind of built up on the side. And I think that's awesome, right? I mean, more power to him. I miss him dearly. I hope he maybe comes back someday, but not because his sites failed.
Right on. So there was something that you mentioned in a blab the other day with Robert O'Haver. I actually asked you a question, and it was about what would you recommend to somebody who's really passionate about SEO? I don't know if you remember it. You probably get tons of questions all the time. So you said to become really specialized in a certain part of SEO. What would you consider yourself specialized in? Like a lot of things, or what do you target?
Yeah, I think for me, my particular specialization is probably on the software and data side of SEO, right? And that's just because of my experience at Moz and how much of my sort of personal success and Moz's success depends on us being really good at building software and data and tools. And so I think that's probably an area of specialization that not a ton of folks in our field have. There's a good handful. John Henshaw from Raven, obviously, Dixon Jones from Majestic, right, and his partner Alex, and the crew from SEMrush. But there's probably maybe 24 scaled up software companies in SEO, and so it's a fairly specialized skill.
Right.
And, that's something I really enjoy too. I love sitting down with the big data team and saying, okay, how do we make our crawl more representative of Google's crawl? and how do we improve the machine learning system that works on the page authority algorithm so that page authority becomes more representative and better correlated with Google's metrics or Google's rankings. So that kind of stuff, I get really excited about that. I'm not super technical. I can't actually sit down in Java and C++ and start coding on Mozscape and helping out that way. But on the product side, that's one of my big passions.
Nice. Okay, Whiteboard Fridays. There's an echo again.
Better?
Testing. Echo.
Still there?
Yep. Oh, went away.
All
It's
right.
gone. So Whiteboard Fridays. How do you come up with them all the time? I mean, one of the struggles for me, not just for the podcast, but also for the blogging. I was doing a lot of blogging previous to getting hired to where I'm at right now. And one of the challenges for me was coming up with new ideas all the time because there's always so many people in the SEO world talking about the same thing, and it seems like you're always coming out with new things that it's like, oh, that's not something I usually hear about.
Yeah, for me it is. So I obviously pay attention, like you do, to the mainstream news. Whatever is being covered on Search Engine Land and Search Engine Roundtable and all that kind of stuff. But I also have this kind of, I don't know what it is, like a sixth sense over the years, right? If I find something that pops up that looks really interesting, for example, that study I mentioned about pagination and internal links on large sites, I'll sort of go, wait a minute, that's new and unique, and that's interesting. And I would say most of the Whiteboard Friday ideas that I get are from eureka types of moments like that, where I stumble across something, it seems really fascinating and interesting to me, I haven't seen it covered a ton, and so I'll turn that into just a short email that I send to the guys who film Whiteboard Friday. That's Elijah and Michael. And then we get together in the room and we look at the emails that I might have sent them in the last couple weeks, and we go, all right, let's do that one, and then I write them up on the board and we film them.
Nice. Do you feel like your drawing has improved over the...
Yes, I do. I think I started out with some pretty pathetic and amateur drawing skills, and I'm now up to the level of, maybe intermediate. I'm definitely not a quality artist. I've seen some folks come in who can, whiteboard things up, and it just looks gorgeous,
Right.
Stunning. In fact, Geraldine could do that. My wife could do that. She's like this amazing artist, but I cannot. And so I have to stick to, my little stick figures, looking at their little web pages, but it works.
It works. So we got an interesting question from one of my coworkers for you, and they wanted to know what SEO tools do you wish existed, and why don't they exist yet? And you can think about this.
Yeah, I have thought about this a lot, right? Well, I think one of the ones that I'm most passionate about that I wish existed was I wish that you could see the web's click data, anonymized of course, but the way that you can see link data. So for example, if I go to Ahrefs or Majestic or Open Site Explorer for Moz, right, I can see here's a bunch of links that point to this page, here's a bunch of links that point to this page, and I can filter and sort those. How amazing would it be to do the same thing with user and click data? Like, I want to know how many people searched this term yesterday or searched in the last 30 days. Then I want to know what percentage of them clicked on position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and how that differs from the average position click. Then I'd like to see, once they made it to this website, how far down did they go? What was the average time on site? Sort of that competitive data for web analytics. That would be mind-blowingly awesome. I think there are a few companies out there that have and sell clickstream type of data. Moz has been buying some clickstream data for our keyword research tool so that we can have more accurate volume scores and more accurate opportunity scores and that kind of stuff. But it's that is a massive undertaking, right? You need this incredible store of data, then you need to be able to slice and dice it a million ways. But how? I mean, how awesome would it be to say, I wonder if this is a good keyword, and then being able to see, man, here's all the, here's how many people search for it from which regions, and here's which sites they clicked on, and here's whether they made it to conversion. Oh, that'd be heaven.
It seems like JumpShot's trying to get like a little bit of a hang on that, but it's still a little far off.
Yeah, JumpShot and SimilarWeb, I think, are the two who have a shot at building something like that for right now, and we'll see. I mean, I think that click level data is just essential to the competitive environment that we're in, and I'd love to see one of those or both of those folks take off and compete with each other and get better and better. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it would. So future of Moz. Speaking of tools, anything in the works that you want to talk about?
You must have read my mind. Yeah. So next week, is it next week? It's either next week or the week after. We are launching Keyword Explorer, which I've tweeted about a few times. I put up a little gallery of some screenshots on my public Facebook page yesterday, and it is. I think it's going to be good when it launches, and I think within a few months of launch, thanks to lots of feedback and input, it's going to be great. The exciting thing is I've been working with this small team of engineers and designers for the last almost exactly 12 months on this project, and it's awesome because they've got sort of the next 6 months just sitting there waiting for people to say, I also want this, I also want that, I wish it would do this. Mm-hmm. And the data back end of it is pretty incredible. Russ Jones, who was formerly at Veranti, and he has been instrumental. He and Dr. Pete both have been instrumental in creating these high quality metrics that you just can't get anywhere else. I mentioned the clickstream data, which means that you can get a true estimate of click-through rate opportunity on any given search result, depending on the features that Google's put in there. You can get much more accurate volume scores. They're bigger ranges, but 95% of the time, the true volume falls within those, as opposed to the weird numbers that AdWords spits back that are just bizarre sometimes. So I'm pretty psyched about that. I think it's going to be an interesting one for sure. I haven't launched a product where I got to work with the product team since probably the very early years of my CEO tenure. So it's kind of fun to get back in the weeds and get to do that kind of work again.
Cool. All right, Rand. Well, I think my last question is, do you have any mentors, and where do you learn most of your stuff from, other than your emails?
Well, I will say, so one of my greatest mentors in the last few years have been my investors. Initially, we were totally amateur hour when we started SEO Moz and started doing software stuff. And when Michelle Goldberg from Ignition came in, she was just phenomenal. She has this cool, calm, very sophisticated but very empathetic way of sharing information with us, telling us kind of, okay, here's how we want to structure this, and here's how we can maximize this. Here's people you should talk to learn more about churn and about lifetime value and about all the SaaS metrics, and here's people you can talk to learn more about credit card processing, and just a lot of sophistication advancement. And then that happened again with Brad Feld from Foundry Group, who's been phenomenal. Another big mentor of mine is Dharmesh Shah from HubSpot. In 2007, when we were thinking about raising money, he reached out via email. We had a couple long phone calls, and then he's been, I don't know, it feels like a brother to me ever since, right? He just sort of sends along information, and it's like, oh yeah, you should do this, you should try that, this would be good for you. I don't know what I did to deserve such awesome people in my life, but it's been pretty amazing.
Well, it's probably because you attract like personalities, right?
Well, I hope so. I hope I've helped someone as much as Dharmesh has helped me.
You've definitely helped me a lot, so.
Oh, I'm thrilled to hear it. That's great.
Well, that's pretty much all I got, Rand.
Awesome. Well, thanks. Thank you for having me, man. That was really fun.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on here, man.
Yeah, you bet. All right, take care of yourself.
All right, you too, man.